Awesome. Well, welcome in everyone to this information session for ARTCap Express Loans. My name's Paul Abramite. I'm the project manager for community initiatives here at AltCap, and we're really thrilled to be here with Kansas City Artist Coalition and be presenting this awesome program to their membership and really work with artists of all disciplines to bring a little bit more education on financing and funding options for artists and creative entrepreneurs. I'm joined today by Erin McGrane, a performing and literary artist here in Kansas City. She's one of our ARTCap artist coaches, and in a little bit we'll tell you a little bit more about the role that the ARTCap coaches play and the resources that are available to artists to get some coaching on their business and what they're looking for in terms of funding, and if the ARTCap Express loan, it might be right for them. So yeah, these are a couple of our other artist coaches, all of whom are available for interested applicants to meet with and work through their business strategy and their funding needs, and then if they're interested in the microloan, then get started on the application process. So keep going. Next slide. So AltCap got involved in this through a number of ways. We've been offering the ARTCap microloans since 2016, and with COVID and through 2020 had to kind of take a step back a little bit, but we've had an incredible kind of new partnership with Etsy to recapitalize this loan fund, and then also with some of the support from Parade of Hearts here locally in Kansas City, we're able to offer some of those coaching resources that I mentioned to really wrap around artists and their businesses completely to get them the support that they need. So without further ado, I will go ahead and turn things over to Erin McGrane so that she can tell you a little bit more about the program and how you can get working with the art coaches.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. As Paul said, my name is Erin McGrane, and first and foremost, I am a working artist. So I've been a performing artist and a musician, and now a literary artist for over 30 years right here in the Kansas City region. And in addition to my arts work, and some of you might know me from Victor and Penny, which is probably the most recent work that I've been doing here in Kansas City, I've also spent a good deal of time, over a decade, working with a program through Mid-America Arts Alliance and the Charlotte Street Foundation called Artist Inc., which is a business development program to help artists improve their business side of their arts practice. And through that program, as well as private consulting with artists, I've worked with hundreds of artists in the 5-state region to help them improve the way that they're doing business in the arts world. So I've seen a lot of examples of people both thriving and striving both. And we're going to talk a little bit today about what the role of an ARTCap Express loan might have in helping you do your business a little bit better. So I just wanted you to know, first and foremost, that I am also myself an artist. And in addition, we'll talk about this a little bit later, I've actually had an ARTCap loan, and I'm going to explain how I used it to help my business. So I know right where you are. And the great thing about this ARTCap loan process is that it's by artists and for artists. And all three of the ARTCap coaches, that's myself, Epi Chad, and Chris Dahlquist are working artists, and we've had a lot of experience working with other artists in multiple disciplines, and we're here to help you. So we'll talk about that at the end, how you can reach any one of us for consultation. That's a free consultation provided by ARTCap through this loan funding. So I have been a performing artist, performed with Victor and Penny, and then most recently I've been writing poetry. So every time that an artist starts a new project, or perhaps goes into a new discipline or starts a new area of their work, it's like starting a business all over again. And that's an essential part of needing funding, is that we're starting our businesses and running our businesses just like other entrepreneurs, but oftentimes the lenders and the way that our lending situation is set up, they don't really see us in the same way. So we also often see that there's a gap in funding to get to the finish line for artists when they're doing their projects. Or it might be that an artist has a project that's not a good candidate for a grant program. So these primitive policies and systemic issues limit artists' access to capital for visual artists, performers, for makers, for all kinds of creative enterprises and artists of all disciplines, though we have the same kind of needs as other entrepreneurs. So why is that important? Well, if you limit artists' access to capital, it limits the amount of voices participating in the creative economy. We're going to talk about this in more depth going forward, but a lot of artists are supporting their funds, supporting their projects through their own funds. They're taking out credit cards, they're saving up money, they're pulling money away from, instead of buying something for their house, they're funding their arts practice. So then it becomes a question of who gets to make art, and it starts to be about who's got the money, right? And that's not necessarily the best way to make sure that all artists have an opportunity to have their voice heard and to make art. So why is that important? Strengthening art business is good for all businesses. And I love these statistics. And we as artists sometimes don't get to see and hear these kind of statistics about how important we are to the creative community. And I think part of what we're going to talk about today is making sure that artists benefit from the benefit that we're bringing to the creative economy. So people say, people love to come to Kansas City because we're this arts town, and First Fridays is so great for the city. Well, we as the artists should be benefiting from that creative economy as well. 4.7 million jobs created by arts and culture. Arts and culture generate 4.2% of the gross domestic product. That's nationally. That's really kind of an amazing statistic. Over $1 billion annual economic impact. 53 of businesses, when polled, said that they valued arts partnerships, and 54% of innovators engaged the arts to succeed in making their business a success. So I find that really interesting. So it's good for us to remember how important we are to the greater economy. So the ARTCap program is for artists, designed by artists. So ARTCap Express and small business loans overcome traditional lending constraints with greater flexibility and understanding of artists. Our tailored solutions meet artists and creative entrepreneurs where they are. So I think that's an important part to remember. This program and the arts coaches, we're going to meet you where you are. So what often happens is that, and I use myself as an example, Jeff, my business partner, and also my creative partner, and I, we're trying to get some funding for touring, which is, from a lender's point of view, can be a really risky, it seems like a very risky venture. Now, we know our business and we know how it works, but we couldn't explain to the banks how we were going to get, we didn't have enough collateral. It just didn't look good on paper. And that happens a lot with artists. And what this program does is understand the arts practice and the business side of the arts practice. And then we have coaches that can work with you one-on-one to help navigate through some of those obstacles and some of those challenges. So ARTCap Express was designed by professional artist Chris Dahlquist, who's one of our ARTCap coaches, was an integral part of beginning this process back in 2016. And it was made to work for artists that may rely on inconsistent cash flows or other sources of income while allowing for their art to drive their business forward and not the other way around. Okay, so what we know is that research indicates one way to build, or the best way to build a sustainable arts career is through something called a portfolio career. This is a basic premise of Artist Inc. Some of you may have gone through the Artist Inc. program. And really it comes, I love this little drawing. It's from drawing from Jackie Battenfield's book, The Artist's Guide. But this is our artist here. And so you can see how she's supporting her arts business. So each one of those, think of that as a table, and each one of those legs is a way that she is supporting her arts business. So this table is pretty stable, right? So let's say that teaching, so she's got an adjunct teaching job. UC teaching is one of her legs. So let's say that this semester, that adjunct teaching position goes away because they're just not going to offer that course. Well, if that was her main source of income, that might be really critical. But if she's got many sources of income, then if that one stream goes away, her table is still stable. So we often say, like, how stable is your table? So you want to be thinking about that and looking at that. The word portfolio career really means diversified income. That's all it means. And the other thing I want you to think about as we're going through here, not only is diversified income or a portfolio career strengthening your financial position, but we also say that it strengthens your creative position because it allows you to take more risks. If you have one stream of income coming in and that's it, it makes it very hard, or one kind of creative stream coming in, it makes it very hard to take a risk, because what if it goes away? What if it falls through? So we're going to get into that a little bit more. So we like to say that more than one source of income equals more creative diversity. Having just one is very limiting. We're going to use this metaphor that we use in Artist Inc. a lot. So the barrel that's you, that's your income, that's your life, your creative and your business life. The rain is all the money that's out there in the world, and the funnel is how that rain gets into your barrel. Now, there's a couple of ways to make more rain in your barrel. You either increase the rain or you can make the barrel smaller. I think a lot of artists make the barrel smaller. They're really good at it. So let's look at kind of a small barrel, a small raindrop. So we like to talk about this musician who's out busking in the street. Pretty obvious there's some challenges with this. You're not in control of the weather. You're not in control of who's walking by. You're not necessarily presenting your art to people that are interested in what you're doing. It's very random. And there's a lot of reasons why. Let's say someone comes along and says, you don't have a license you got to move. You can't do it. So that's really risky. It's a little bit of rain. It's only one funnel and it's a pretty small barrel. So let's say another musician example. This is a person in a symphony. So their rain that's coming in is a lot bigger. But look, it's still just one funnel. So what happens if that community, let's say it's the Wichita Community Symphony, what happens if they get defunded? He's just as vulnerable as the guy that's in the street. And that's the point of that portfolio career, is making multiple funnels. So let's take a look at what we mean. So this is a visual artist. So this is an example of what a visual artist's funnels or multiple streams of income or multiple legs on that table might look like. So this is actually based on Chris Dahlquist's funnel. One great thing about working in so closely with all these artists and with our other coaches is that they've been very generous to share with us how they're making this work, what their portfolio career actually looks like. So Chris does a lot of art festivals, art sales, art festivals online. She's got a little gallery that supports her, and she does commissions. She's moving now into public art installations, so applying for public art and receiving those commissions. She's got a gallery commission, licensing, consulting like this work, what I'm doing today, lectures and workshops, curriculum development, and rental income. So this is could be a literary artist or a writer. They might have book sales, editing, freelance writing, hosting retreats, teaching, speaking engagements. One fun thing that I love to do with people when we're doing one-on-one sessions is look at all of their skills, and each one of those skills can be made into a funnel. And that's really a fun and exciting part of doing some of this work is creating some of those funnels. And you get to decide how big those funnels are, how small they are. And you can open and close those funnels depending on what's happening in your life. It's a position of strength, if you think about it that way. And you can see how you can take some more risks if you think, well, I'm going to try this new art form because I know I'm going to have that book sale coming in next December when that gets published or whatever. So let's look at musician. So this is actually loosely based on my portfolio career. So I still play gigs. So Jeff and I still play gigs as Victor and Penny. Sometimes we do small bar gigs and those kind of things, or private gigs. We did at one time many concerts. We teach, we sell merchandise, we do instrument sales, or partner with people who sell instruments. I also now have taken on a nonprofit salary. I'm the executive director of Ensemble Iberica, which is a musical not-for-profit here in Kansas City. I do lots of fundraising, and then I do lots of other side hustles like most of the artists that I know. I also have a little rental income, which is a brand new thing that we just added this year. So that was a very intentional adding a funnel. Right. So each new funnel though is like starting a new business. So let's say I want to add to my funnel, like I did last year. I want to start doing some literary things. So I want to publish something. Well, how am I going to pay for that? And this is where the ARTCap loan comes in. So what kinds of things, as artists are starting new funnels or expanding their funnels, what kinds of things would artists need money for? Well, equipment, definitely. Space improvements, production costs, costs of good, marketing materials, skill development, contracts, licensing and permits. I'm going to use Jeff, my husband, Victor and Penny, as an example. So during COVID, when we went from 84 dates booked on the calendar, touring dates, to 0 in 2 months. So this was super critical for us from a financial point of view. So we decided to use that time, and he went back to school to get his certification from Berklee School of Music in film scoring and arranging. So that was skill development. So there was a certain cost to pay for that tuition. Also, space improvements. So we had to build for him some studio up in one of our bedrooms. We took one of our bedrooms and had to put soundproofing in it, that sort of thing. Equipment. He had to buy new equipment, new software, new hardware. It was a lot. So, licensing and permitting. So there's lots of, ASCAP licensing and all different kinds of things. So he, in making that shift and opening up a new funnel, essentially starting a new business, had what did I say, 4 of those 7 bullets. So how does that get paid for, right? Well, traditionally what artists do, they just grind it out, right? They just put the time in and they work overtime, or they take a second job, or they pull money, they pull income from other streams to do that. Sometimes they do fundraising. That's Kickstarters. We're familiar with all of that platform. We've been doing that for a long time. Patreon, grants, and loans. So we're saying to add to those resource strategies, to add loans in there. That may not be right for you right now, but it may be right for you in the future. So we're going to talk about some examples of people that were able to creatively use those loans. I'm going to tell one story before we go on, in terms of, I think most of us as artists, we know where we need money and why. But Chris Dahlquist tells a great story that back in 2016, when she was working with the city manager, the assistant city manager at that time, and they were beginning to talk about putting this loan program out there for artists. And very innocently, one of the people from the city sat across the table and said, well, what on earth would artists need money for? Which we know, but there is a perception that we just sit in our studios and draw with pencils, and it's just magically, I guess the canvases appear, and the funds to go to an art show just, I don't know, magically appear. So it was an innocent question, but it does highlight that underlying perception that we don't need money and that we aren't businesses, but we know that we are. So let's talk about a great example. So this is the object enthusiast. She is a clay artist, and she moved back to Kansas City and started a very successful online store. She got so popular selling creations that she made for home goods. Her clay works are home goods. She got so popular that she literally could not keep up with the orders that were coming in. So she was at a crisis point where she needed, first of all, another kiln. She needed equipment. She needed a bigger space, and she needed to hire an assistant. So how do you get over that hump? That's a pretty big ask all at once. And this is exactly where that ARTCap loan came in. So she came in, applied for the loan, got the loan, was able to do that all at once, very quickly, to respond to those orders that were coming in. And this has been a real success story. Here's another one. So Monarch Dance, these were two dancers that started teaching dance in their home, very quickly outgrew their space, needed to move into a bigger space. But this is a big ask. All of a sudden, when you move into a bigger space, now you're going to need all the things that are inside there, the bars, the mirrors, the flooring was very expensive, rent. How do you, again, and then materials, you're going to do marketing materials, because now you can have a lot more audience members in, or you can have a lot more participants in. So they applied for the art loan and got it. Another success story. I'm going to use myself. So 2016, I participated in this loan. It was a prototype of the loan that they have now. So I was one of the first participants. We had decided to do a big project a bigger project than we'd ever done before. Victor and Penny, my musical act, we're going to record an album in Nashville. So we did a project budget, and the budget was $40,000. Well, we clearly did not have $40,000. And we know that in 2016, everyone's still buying CDs. So we know that we're going to have a lot of income coming from the CDs. We also made, I did a poetry book along with it. We did, all kinds of things along with it. So we knew we were going to have merchandise, but we got to get from this idea and this budget on paper all the way to that end. And where does that 40,000 come from? So I'm going to share with you exactly where that money came from. So we did a crowdfunding, we did a letter writing campaign, we did concerts where we just, asked for money. We did concerts, we did private concerts, and then we asked for in-kind donations. But the very first money that we got was that microloan. That's where we started. So we took out a $5,000 microloan, and with that money, it enabled us to put together the materials that were showcasing what we were going to do so we could get the rest of the money. So for instance, when we did our fundraising campaign, we had to have pictures, and we needed to have samples, and we need to have materials for the letter writing campaign. We needed all of that to show people what we were going to do. And that's what we used that loan for. So we did finish the project on budget and on time, and we were able to pay that loan back, and I think in about 18 months, well ahead of the schedule, because once that money started coming in, and we knew it would, we knew there'd be a big influx of money right at the beginning when we had the big CD release party. We made thousands of dollars that very first show, and we paid off that loan with most of that money. So this is just showing how to use the loan in strategic fundraising. So it may not be right for you, but it may be right for you at some point. Okay, so let's just go on. Oh, I'm going to give one more example. So we had the clay artist who was having a huge growth in her business that she couldn't keep up with. We had the dance artist that needed to expand into a space. We had me, who was working on a specific expensive project. We had another art loan that went out to a woman that was a photographer, and in the off season, well, in her spare time, what she did was do wedding photography. She had all of her camera gear stolen from her home right at the beginning of wedding season. So that wedding season money, she, in June and July, May, June, July, all that time, she made enough money that supported her art practice for the rest of the year. So if she missed that season, she wasn't going to have any money for the rest of the year. But how do you replace thousands of dollars of expensive camera equipment that had been collected over many years in one fell swoop? Well, you could put it on the credit card, which is the answer that a lot of people do. Instead, she came and got an ARTCap loan, and we were able to help her get that equipment in place. She did her honeymoon and wedding season, and was able to pay that loan back. Here's another example of ways that our arts practices don't fit in with traditional lending or traditional financing. So another theater artist, this is a great example. So a play, you're going to get a lot of tickets at the end of it, but way before the tickets, you have to pay the cost to there's servicing right, there's licensing right to license the play. You have to reserve the venue. You have to do rehearsals. You have to pay the actors to rehearse. You have to feed them. There's so many. There's designers. There's lighting designers. The director. All of those costs are up front before you ever see a dime. This would be another perfect example of how an ARTCap loan might help you. So how does this get done otherwise? In this particular case, where I'm thinking of an example of a theater artist, we said, how have you been funding this in the years past? And they said, well, I just put it on my credit card. Well, this is again a question of who gets to make art. Who has credit cards? Not everybody has credit cards. Not everybody has family to borrow money from, or a nest egg that they can borrow from. So it also speaks to, we want to make sure that all voices get a chance to make the art that they want to make. So if you're not lucky enough to be able to, put all this on a credit card, you're in trouble, right? Here's another great example. So this is Chris Dahlquist. This is a project that happened just this summer. So it's a public arts project. It's a fairly small amount. It's a $10,000 project that she applied for and got. So they gave her, when she got awarded it, 20% of the project right up front. So that 20% had to cover all of the drawings, the architecture, the manufacturing of these. These are outdoor sculptures that had to be welded and concrete poured into the earth. That $2,000 didn't even begin to cover that. Then she got a secondary portion of it in the middle, and then the bulk of it, the rest of it, was received at the end of the project when you take it down. So that is supposed to be her fee part of it. So she didn't even get paid all that time until November. So that is a pretty traditional way that arts gets funded when you get these projects. Again, and how do you fill that gap? This would be another example. It's the timing and the structure excludes some artists from making art because they just can't swing the cost of doing this up front. So it's a new way to think about it. So who gets to make art? Everybody, hopefully. So those bootstrappers out there. So who can apply? Artists, makers, performers, musicians, theater makers. This ARTCap loan, we have made that umbrella as big as possible. So it also includes tattoo artists, fashion, makeup artists, stylists, multimedia enterprises, graphic artists, artist collectives, arts organizations. I would say if you think you might qualify, apply, because this is meant to be as inclusive as possible. All right. I think I'm going to toss this back over to Paul. I'll just say we're going to talk a little bit about the process and then also the coaches. So just to remind everyone, I am one of the coaches and I'm here to help. So I'm going to toss this back over to Paul and let him tell you a little bit more about the program itself and how you can get involved.
Thanks so much, Erin. And yeah, I really glad to just be able to be putting these resources together for folks who are interested and are looking at how to get started. We really wanted to make this as low barrier and as easy to understand and get started exploring and seeing if it's right for you. There's no pressure whatsoever for folks who meet with our ARTCap coaches to submit a loan request. Of course, if it's the right opportunity for you, then we hope you'll proceed with that. But we have the three artist coaches that we mentioned, who can all provide up to 2 hours of free consultation with interested applicants, and that they can help them really work through their business needs and their kind of strategic planning to understand what's the best use of the funds they do have available, or if they're going to be seeking a loan or a grant or any number of funding sources. Really help them think about where they need to go and what's the best use of those financial resources. So if it's the microloan, then AltCap has a couple different options available for artists and creatives. First and foremost, we've talked about mostly the ARTCap Express microloan, which goes up to $10,000. It's a program that's meant to be really accessible, inclusive, like Erin mentioned. There are a couple requirements in terms of where you live. It's for Missouri, Kansas, or Texas-based artists and creatives, and minimum credit score of 600. Although if you are close to that, a little bit under, there are certainly options to still work through that. The really nice thing about this loan is that there's no prepayment penalties on either of the ARTCap loans, and they're available on an ongoing basis. And that's, as opposed to grants that have the cycles and their openings, ARTCap loans are always available. And as of right now, until the ARTCap Express program is available through the end of the year, we're hoping that will get extended into 2024. But you can find out that information online too. When you go to start your application, we have all of the requirements and the loan details available to you before you start the application. So anyway, for anyone who's interested, for organizations, if you know of any other folks that might be interested, please have them reach out, contact myself or one of the coaches. We have contact information here at the end of the slides. For artists who are ready or want to get meeting with one of our ARTCap coaches, you can reach out to them at coaches@altcap.org and let them know a little bit about your practice and business, or potential business, and they'll schedule a time with you as if you're ready to apply. altcap.org/ARTCap. There are options there for the express loans, depending on what state you're in. If you're looking for over $10,000, then there's also an option there. And then from there, one of our AltCap business development officers will reach out to you and work with you to get your loan application through. So there's my contact information as well if you want to get in touch with myself for any other outreach opportunities to try and bring this opportunity to more artists across the Midwest. Would love to talk more with anyone, and and then our coaches, of course, too, are free to work with. So please take advantage of those too. Erin, if I think that about covers it, but yeah, really appreciate Cicely, you and Kansas City Artist Coalition for having us. Yeah, please.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay. Thank you so much, Paul and Erin, and Jeff. I just want to thank you guys for coming today and presenting this awesome resource to our community and our members. I know this is going to be really helpful for a lot of people, especially some of our new members and maybe young members that just moved to KC, and they kind of have this idea of their funnels and their buckets, but they kind of want to get things in order a little bit. So I'm really glad that we're able to share this resource to them. All of this information will be uploaded on the website and our social media for all of our members and just for the general public.
Yeah, we'll definitely share this out for folks who weren't able to attend today, so they can go back and learn a little bit more about the program and what's being offered through the coaching services. And yeah, we'll share some more details, information, so that everyone from Kansas City Artist Coalition can have access to this opportunity. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. And yeah, we're really looking forward to meeting all those new artists and their businesses here in the future.
Right. Thank you so much for having us here today. I really appreciate it. I hope to hear from some of you. We have 2 hours of free consultation with any of our coaches. All 3 coaches have a little bit different area of expertise. And if you just put an email in that says contact one of the coaches, we'll help you decide which one of us might best serve your needs. We can talk about anything having to do with your finances or how you want to think about the ways that this might be helpful to you, or maybe not yet. So again, just to reiterate, this is an ongoing program. So it's not like a grant only open one time. Hopefully it's going to keep going on for a long time. Thank you again, KCAC, for having us today, and Paul so much for doing this program.
Thank you, everyone. All right, take care. Have a great rest of your day.